Miami. We saw this shift in New York, where New York elected a socialist, communist, democratic socialist, whatever he tries to call himself. He's fake. He's fraudulent, bro. This other content creator was like, that smile is fake. And I looked at it, I said, damn, yeah, that smile is fake. It was so good, it was fake, bro.
Congratulations, well done.
I said, yeah, he faking. But Miami took on the torch from New York to Miami to put a Democrat into place. Now, this is the weirdest part about this. This is a non-speaking Democrat in a city, Spanish-speaking Democrat, a non-Spanish-speaking Democrat in a heavily immigrant Spanish-speaking city. So I don't quite understand, but this is the first Democrat elected into Miami in the mayor's office in Miami in the last 30 years. What does this mean? Now, some of y'all are like, oh, that means that the Dems are coming in for the midterm. That might. And I can see Miami like that. The ethnicity in Miami and these ICE raids, which probably affected the people that they know, whether in other parts of the country. If they haven't come to Florida in that powerful move, but I'm sure ICE is doing this thing down there. Homeland Security is probably doing this thing down there. But it's not hitting the waves. It's not like New Orleans, Memphis, Chicago, some of these other places. But, hey, Miami, you got your first Democrat mayor.
Let's get to some breaking news out of Miami. Voters are putting a Democrat into the mayor's seat for the first time in more than 30 years. Former County Commissioner Eileen Higgins declared the winner in today's runoff. Higgins won with 59% of the vote, defeating Miami City Manager Emilio Gonzalez, who was backed by President Trump. Moments ago, Higgins celebrated her victory with supporters. She was asked about her victory that comes despite Trump's throwing his support behind her opponent.
For me, it's the people of Miami that voted for me. What I knew all along is I had the support of the residents. I have served them for 8 years. They have always reelected me, and they showed tonight that they like my track record of always going to work for them, and that's what they chose tonight.
Eileen Higgins there saying that voters like her track record. Let's check in with CBS News correspondent Christian Benavides, who joins us live now. Wow, what a shake up here. The mayoral seat just flipped from red to blue for the first time in decades. So why don't you first tell us about what made this switch? How did she sway voters? What was the change?
Well, look, and just to be clear, this is a blowout victory for Democrats. And to put all of this into perspective, the last time the city of Miami elected a Democrat as mayor was in 1993. So for the first time in more than 30 years, Democrats have won an election in Miami. Now, there was a win back in 1997 that was overturned by legal challenges. But I mean, by all accounts, this 20-point victory, hugely symbolic for a Democratic Party that in Florida has
20 points, yo. That's not a small margin. Nobody wants to talk about this. It's not a small margin.
Been at the receiving end of a number of losses. The state is practically a red state at this point. We saw how the president has won here, how Governor DeSantis has won here. But I spoke to the Democratic candidate prior to the election, and she said that if she wins, it would be in part a referendum on President Trump's immigration policy, which she called sinful. Now, to take a step back a little bit further, the city of Miami has a population that is about 57% foreign born. That's according to the 2024 U.S. Census, and about half are naturalized U.S. citizens who were eligible to vote in this election. And while nationally Hispanic voters trend Democrat, in South Florida, it has always been the case that Republicans have found a stronghold among Cuban, Venezuelan, and Nicaraguan communities who fled communist and socialist governments. However, immigration has reached a flashpoint in Florida, where state troopers are carrying out immigration enforcement. It's become the home to Alligator Alcatraz, the immigration detention center, and the state has a majority of Venezuelan immigrants to the U.S., many of them integrated into the local economy. You have over 250,000 of whom recently lost their temporary protected status. So what Higgins did is she certainly...
So this is that temporary protective status, Venezuelan. Hey, I I kind of thought like something like this was going to happen. I was looking at it because when Trump ran and he gave cleanup for immigration and people that were there that had committed crimes, so forth, everybody was for that. But as we start digging through and we see, okay, yeah, you committed crimes, but at the same time, your visa's expired. At the same time, you don't have a green card. At the same time, your green card expire. A lot of what's taking place is starting to affect other places like this. And I know some people, listen, Democrat, Republican, I know some Republican conservatives will not like this, but this is what they're pivoting on to win the second term. They believe in that second term, things like this will turn the tide and allow them to be able to come. Now, I'm wondering, people that are running from New York, and this is gonna get messy. People that are running from New York down to Florida, that means you're not going to stop in Miami, because the sense of Democrat is still tied to socialist in the perspective of other people outside of Florida. I mean, she may be a conservative Democrat. I don't know. She may be lean more conservative. But at the end of the day, they don't see that from Zoran. They're looking at that as being more socialist, potentially socialist. We don't like those type of policies. Man. Ooh, this is about to get good.
Hammered the point on immigration. She also focused on affordability, a huge issue in Miami, and also focused on climate change. There are a number of areas that flood on a regular basis across Miami. So we have seen the effects of changing climate across Miami just by virtue of being here. So those were her three top issues, particularly on immigration and affordability, and it appears to have worked.
Yeah, her main message too. We just saw it there. We were putting a statement that she had said just just recently, but basically she wanted to change the tide of chaos and corruption. We see it there on our screen tonight. The people of Miami made history together. We turned the page on years of chaos and corruption and so forth. So when we're talking about the immigration platform, were there other visions for Miami? What else is on her agenda?
Well, certainly affordability. The city of Miami, prior to the pandemic, was an extremely affordable big city. Now you've got a number of large companies, and I spoke to Higgins about this, because you've got a number of tech and finance companies that have moved into Miami that have caused an overall positive effect when it comes to the number of high-paying jobs and building more infrastructure around Miami. But when it comes to people who have lived their entire lives in Miami, they find it unaffordable. It's very difficult to
Miami's experiencing the same thing that New York is experiencing. That's why that happened. The affordability, and this is the thing. I keep saying this affordability thing is a lie. It's not going to go in. It's not going to change. You can talk about affordability as much as you want and even lower goods on prices on items. That's cool, but don't believe the hype about this affordability. They keep talking about affordability, but they understand they're ignoring the fact that to make things affordable, you have to change what the skill set of what's taking place, of people in the middle of what's taking place. They need to be talking more about skills. But these key little punch points, that's enough to turn enough people's hearts. And then they get in there and they find out, oh, what does affordability mean to you? Does that mean that you now are investors now are going to pay more money for in real estate? With how you're going to raise taxes, property taxes, to be able to lower food taxes in other areas? Like, what does that mean? Florida is one of those places that doesn't have a state tax. So are you going to create something to make up for that in order to, what does that mean? So she hasn't spelt it out. I don't see.
To give you an example of this, prior to the pandemic, you'd likely be able to find an apartment in downtown Miami for perhaps $1,500 a month, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Now, closer to $3,500 a month. So that's sort of huge.
That's the same thing in Atlanta. It's everywhere.
increase in the cost of rent has, or even just the pricing for homes that have also skyrocketed. There are a lot of affordability issues, and
That's happening everywhere.
that's something that she has also focused on. Now, to his credit, Emilio Gonzalez also focused on many of those issues, but it appears that where they differed the most was on immigration, and it appears, at least according to the results, that that may be what helped her clinch this race. Interestingly.
So basically, you had. Wow, we just do an injustice to ourselves, huh? We. Wow. That's a big piece right there. That's a big piece. He wasn't able to sell it. Funny thing about this guy, he's born in Cuba. He's Cuban, Havana born. Who she won against? Wow, this is going to be interesting. See, I'm a spectator of this whole thing. I'm a spectator of it. I enjoy watching it. I enjoy looking at it. I enjoy examining it because you really don't know what's going to take place until you actually examine what's happening in this space. So, guys, like, subscribe, follow for more content.